Hey everyone, welcome to the tutorial. We will be painting these clouds and yeah, let's just get started. So first we will be grabbing a white and dipping my brush immerse it fully into the water, then take all the excess water off. So keep it pretty wet. Then I'm taking, this one is called Blue Lake, so use any light blue color or whatever color you want to use for your sky. I just think this color is the nicest and it's one of my favorite blues, so that's why I'm using it. And I'm keeping the consistency very creamy, so if you feel that it's too watery, then of course add more paint. A good way to test this is to just do a swatch on a piece of paper like I'm doing here, and if you can see white underneath the paint, so your paper underneath the paint, that means it's probably too watery, so just add paint onto your brush. I'm going to start by sketching everything out with a pencil. I find this helpful. I like to sketch out just the outlines of the clouds so I know where not to paint. Then I'm going in with the blue that we made just before and painting all of this in, just the sky. Yes, I think I was explaining here that don't use your paintbrush like a color pencil where you're going back and forth really rapidly. Use long strokes, and yeah, generally one way. Don't go up and down and sideways, just go one way, side to side. For the edges of the clouds, don't worry too much about getting it too precise, because I'll show you, but this is basically the background and we're going to paint over it with white and different blues, so don't worry too much about that. Okay, now we're going to start on the clouds themselves. I'm going to start painting it with very watery light blue. This is because then once this sort of dries, then we can add the white and it will really stand out against the blue. And obviously clouds are not completely white, they have shadows, so the blue will be used as almost like a shadow. And I'm demonstrating the lightness that I want for this, so very, very watery this time. Don't make it completely opaque, and just a very, very rough and light wash of the clouds. Okay, and now finally for the clouds, I'm getting a pure white, and use your brush sideways slanted like this instead of vertically and perpendicular to your paper, because you want to dab it from the side, putting more pressure on the point of your brush than on the thicker end, and then you're going to create the edges of the cloud. So when you're painting these clouds, you want to think that the edges are much more whiter and brighter because the light will be hitting that most. So you want to create dark spaces and light spaces even when you're just using white. And you're going to do that with different pressures you apply to your brush. So I apply a lot more pressure to the tip of the brush and then let the rest of the brush, so the thicker part, sort of barely touch the paper, and that creates a tone where there's a highlight at the top, like here, and then towards the bottom there's more of an opacity, which makes the blue come through a little more, and that sort of emulates the shadow. And as we add the details and layers to this painting in this tutorial, you'll hopefully see what I mean. But again, trust the process, make sure you have different highlights but keep them on one side of the cloud. So right now I'm doing the left side of the cloud because that's where the sunlight, or I've chosen the sunlight to come from. And now we are on to our shadows. So I'm going to get a lot more blue, and this is pretty watery, so probably about the same as this light blue one, the swatch that I did under that. So you can still see the white and the paper underneath, and at first this will look crazy dark, but just trust me, it will look good. Just make sure that you're not covering the entire canvas, otherwise then yeah, it won't look like shadows anymore. So make sure you're just doing the right hand side of the clouds, and any crevices where you feel that the shadows will appear in the clouds. Now, I don't really want to fast forward this part, just so you can see how I'm using my brush and which parts I'm going to be painting with the dark blue, so feel free to skip ahead for this part if you already know exactly where you want to put the shadows. I will put this timestamp on the screen. Yeah, I'm also going back and forth between the white and the blue just to make sure that the highlights are properly looking like highlights and the dark parts are looking like shadows. So I'm using the whites to blend into the dark blues, and same with the dark blues to blend into the white. And for me, I thought this was way too blue, which is okay, we can paint over it again. So I'm going back over with the white the parts where I feel that I want to see a lot more white, a lot more light blues. And yeah, you just have to, this is like a trial and error type situation, so, which I know is sort of annoying, but it just comes with practice, and I'm also still practicing as well, so just do it by eye. If something feels wrong, then try again, leave it to try again, and yeah, see how it goes. Okie dokie. So I think now we've finished the shadows pretty much, but I really wanted to make my sky a little bit darker because the white just wasn't showing through, and this is again up to your discretion, but I wanted it darker, so I'm using a darker blue here and going back over the sky and around the clouds. Just be a little careful around the clouds for this, but again, you don't have to do this. I just wanted to do it because, yeah, just wanted to make sure that my clouds looked like they popped from my paper. And yeah, it looks better now. So, all up to you. And now I'm also going in with more white. And because gouache, I feel that it tends to, once it dries, it becomes much lighter. So, you might want to do a few more layers depending on how bright you want your whites to be on the clouds. And now we are just splashing some white paint. You also don't have to do this. I like to do this to give it more of like a splashy feel to it. Maybe they're stars, maybe they're not, maybe they're fairy dust particles. I'm not sure. They just look really good, so I'm just doing that. And now I'm also using the same white to create birds in the sky. And also for the birds in the shadows of the clouds, I realized that a darker color would look nicer, so yeah, you can do that too. And we're pretty much done. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and learned something from it. If you have any suggestions for the next video or tutorial, of course let me know. And yeah, that's about it. See you guys next time. Bye!